I was just going for a walk through this park, as you can see, and a really fucked up, but also kind of funny thought popped into my head, because 3 years ago, when I first got into self-improvement, I started watching particularly a lot of masculinity influencers online, and I started to become obsessed with them, because I remember getting like really motivated and hyped up, because so many of them would preach that, oh, you should work towards, making the most money out of everyone you know, having the best and sexiest looking partner out of everyone you know, by having the best and fanciest car out of everybody you know, by being the best at this and that, everything out of everyone you know, by having all these stupid high expectations and unrealistic expectations for yourself that statistically most people don't achieve, and they preach that you should have all these materialistic things and that you should base your happiness off these things, which, by the way, aren't even totally in your control. And hot tip, if you ever notice yourself that you're measuring your happiness, or you're measuring your happiness as a metric based on something that you don't have total control over, then that's an instant red flag. You should never do that. That's stupid. And it's really fascinating because, and I'm sure you've heard this phrase before, that actually no, it's a statistic that some of the richest and wealthiest parts of the world are often the most anxious, the most depressed. And then it's then fucking stupid that so many of these influencers will go online and tell you that, oh, you've got to be the best at this, the best at that, you've got to have this, otherwise you're not reaching your potential, and then you're a fucking beta cuck to the system, or like whatever they like to say. It's fucking stupid. And it's such a bad mindset, because then you actually forget and become ungrateful for what you already have. Like 3 years ago, if I saw where I was today with that stupid mindset that I had when I fell for all these like fucking influencers, I would think I'm a failure. Because nowadays, I'm relatively happy, and I exercise regularly, not because I want, the best physique out of everyone and I want to, look smacks and all this other stuff, but just because I enjoy it. I like getting outside, I like moving, it's just something I enjoy, and I feel full of energy when I do it, so I like to do it. I work a 9-to-5 job that I actually quite enjoy, that I'm fine with, that I'm actually relatively happy with. I work at a gardening company, and I'm not always arriving there every day with the greatest enthusiasm, not all the time, but I actually enjoy it, going around and just doing gardens all day. And I'm not making millions, obviously, off that, but you know what, that's fine. But so many of these stupid dickheads online will look at something like that and tell you, you're a failure. What the fuck are you doing with your life? So ask yourself this question. Is there anything wrong with settling for what you have? And that isn't to say you should strive for what you really want out of life. I believe you should absolutely try and push yourself at many things. But honestly, you're going to fail at a lot of them. And that shouldn't be demeaning. That actually should be liberating, because, God forbid a man fucking fail. Because then you're this and that. No, you have to be the best, and you have to have this and that. Otherwise, you can't be happy. It's like, fuck off. Because even those times where you do try something, you push yourself, you put hours upon hours into something, and you fail, well, you never go out of that without learning something, usually valuable. Because, oh no, worst case scenario, you're back at square one. Yeah, but you learned so much through that experience. And that's the boring answer. That's not what people like to hear. But most of life is that. That's what the religious people say. Life is suffering. But it isn't useless suffering. It's meaningful suffering. And maybe that's where the real fulfillment a lot of the time actually comes from. It's just by experiencing life. You don't have to win all the time. You don't have to be the best of the best to be happy. Because sometimes I feel like the real joys for me out of life come from the most mundane, normal, mediocre things that so many of these people will say you're a failure for being, as well as they also come from suffering and just experiencing things and failing, those awkward moments, those times when things didn't go my way, the days where I show up to a job 5 days a week that sometimes I like going to and sometimes I don't, other times I'm tired. The imperfection of life is overall, to me, my own unique and, in a really weird way, fulfilling experience. And again, I'll say, you should never use this as an excuse to cope and just stay in the comfort zone. You should always be trying things, pushing yourself, even small things. But never make that a metric that you base your happiness on. Have enough self-respect that you never do that. Be willing to suffer. Be willing to sit, with the feeling of failure, as well as positive experiences in your life. Because maybe that's what really matters, instead of all this materialistic bullshit that these people online will try and preach to you. And, try and convince you to sell your soul and sell your happiness to their fucking scam of a course that's probably like $500 a week or some shit like that. I don't know. I won't ramble on that too much, but I think you get the point. Have enough self-respect for yourself. I think I'll end it there, but yeah. Just something quickly I thought I'd share. Alright, cheers. Catch you in the next one.